What is going on, my crazy 76er fanatics? Thanks for stopping back in for another daily pod with your daily 76er information. Guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe because if you leave a comment or two, we read more than a few. We read all of your comments. And make sure you guys check us out with a subscription because we're talking about the in-season tournament. And if you haven't seen the in-season tournament groups, I think the Sixers have the easiest group out there. If this was last season, this group would be terrifying. But this season, this group isn't scary at all. East B group for the in-season tournament has the Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics, the Detroit Pistons, the Orlando Magic, and the Brooklyn Nets. Now we can break this group down squad by squad. The Celtics aren't as great as they were last year. They're nowhere near the team that we feared for the last 2 to 3 seasons. With no Tatum, just Jaylen Brown, and your All-American Mr. Olympian Derek White, this team still has a lot of holes to fill because their front court with no Al Horford, with no Porzingis, is an entire new group. They're going to be relying on their third center from last year to be their starting center this year in Xavier Tillman. The Celtics, going up against a healthy Joel Embiid, guaranteed to lose 3 out of 4 or maybe all 4 matchups this season. Not worried about seeing the Celtics at all if you're a Sixer fan and you expect Joel to be healthy. The Detroit Pistons. The Pistons improved. The Pistons have been doggone good, but the Pistons aren't experienced. The Pistons aren't the most deep. And the Pistons don't have the most depth at this wing and at the shooting guard position. Outside of Cade Cunningham, losing Tim Hardaway, losing Malik Beasley, losing a lot of the floor spacing that you relied on last year, there's no guarantee that the floor spacing this year will even become close or comparable to what it was last year. You're not sure how good those Detroit Pistons are going to be until they step on the court. Plus, health-wise, Jaden Ivey's coming back. And if you ask me, I think Jaden Ivey was messing with the flow and messing with the on-ball ability of a Cade Cunningham. It's going to be a lot different this year than last year for those Detroit Pistons. But they did improve a little bit getting Duncan Robinson. They did improve a little bit getting Duncan Robinson, a guaranteed floor spacer, but a questionable defender. Another team in the East B group, and this is probably the scariest team in the East B group, the Orlando Magic, guys. The Magic could be the beast in the East, the most dominant team and the #1 seed if it all clicks, if they can get everyone on the same page, if Paolo is the once-in-a-lifetime franchise and a game-changing player that we all expect him to be, if Franz can finally start knocking down that three and shooting it consistently, and if Desmond Bane does what Desmond Bane has been doing, bringing three-point energy, bringing defensive impact, and also being that enforcer. If things need to be enforced, call Desmond Bane, he'll bring the pain. I love this Magic squad. I love the additions they made, and I also love the fact that last season they had a top 5 defense in the league. They have the same defenders from last season on this squad, or maybe they improved. Getting rid of Caldwell Pope for Desmond Bane may be improvement on the defensive side and on the offensive end. The Magic got a lot better. The Magic are the scariest group in this East B group, but the best thing about the matchup with the Magic and the Philadelphia Sixers, it happens November 25th. The Sixers play the Magic November 25th. What you're hoping for by then is a healthy Joel Embiid, a consistent Paul George, and a Philadelphia 76er team who has game tape and has chemistry, camaraderie, and are able to click and fire on all cylinders. That's what you want to see from a Philadelphia 76er team by November. So that matchup against the Magic may be perfect timing because it's not too early, it's not too late. And at that point in the season, Joel's health should be great. So maybe, the Sixers can coast to the in-season tournament playoffs and maybe to the championship because their final game in that in-season tournament schedule is against the Brooklyn Nets. I like to call them the Brooklyn Regrets because there's nothing good about that squad. Michael Porter Jr. is their best player. I think I got Kelly Oubre strapping up Michael Porter Jr. pretty easily. I think I got VJ Edgecombe giving Michael Porter Jr. some problems on the perimeter. I like our matchup against a Michael Porter Jr.-led Brooklyn Nets squad. And if the Philadelphia 76ers win the first 3 games, there's no way they'll win the last one against those Nets. The in-season tournament could be the easiest way for the Philadelphia 76ers to hang some banners, to win some championships, and to claim a trophy. I love their odds this season, but it only is going to depend on the health and the back of Joel Embiid. You need Joel to be good this season. And speaking of how good Joel is, about time James Harden recognizes. About time James Harden and Joel get on the same page. I don't know if you guys heard about Joel's off-season interview where he said that his relationship with James Harden is tarnished, maybe unreconcilable. Joel feels as though James Harden's a little upset that the Sixers didn't give him the contract they promised him, and James thinks that Joel had something to do with it. Joel says he didn't. Joel pleads and promises he had nothing to do with Daryl not extending James Harden the max deal. But that doesn't matter, guys. What does matter is how these guys are operating in today's day and age, on today's time. Apparently, James Harden decided to forgive Joel Embiid because when they asked James Harden, who was your top 5 teammates in your career, he happily named Joel Embiid as the best center he's ever played with, and he happily named Joel Embiid as one of the first players that he said was one of the greatest players he's played with, which, guys, could be small news to some, but it's big news to many. Because if you don't remember Kevin Durant's interview when they asked him who was his greatest teammates, he left Russell Westbrook off the list. Intentionally, mind you, he left Russell Westbrook off the list. NBA players are petty. NBA players are very petty. And for James Harden to say that Joel Embiid is one of the greatest players that he's ever played with, it just shows a little bit of growth. It just shows that there is some room for these guys to reconcile their differences. And it also may mean if James Harden is a free agent next season, because every season, for some reason, James Harden finds himself in free agency, I wouldn't be above a James Harden return to Philadelphia. He had the greatest pick and roll with Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. He was averaging 10 assists easily, and he was still a 20-10 player while also seeing a dip in his usage. James Harden may have had his most efficient seasons with Philadelphia and his best chances of winning with Philadelphia. A return could be perfect, especially if the Sixers or especially if the Clippers would like Paul George in exchange. Just happy that Joel and James Harden are on the same page. It seems like James Harden did forgive Joel, and hopefully these two guys would be able to take the court again in the same uniform, because that was some of the best. They were comparing them to Shaq and Kobe. And guys, they had something different and better than Shaq and Kobe. That was a two-man game that Shaq and Kobe never necessarily developed on an extreme level, because Kobe was never a great passer. Speaking of great passing, guys, one day and hopefully someday soon, VJ Edgecombe can pass Ace Bailey on the 2K rating and on that 2K scale. Did you know? Ronnie 2K put out a list of, the highest overall for rookies. It's Cooper Flagg, it's Dylan Harper, it's Ace Bailey for that 3rd overall player of this draft, the 77 overall, and right behind him is a VJ Edgecombe. I saw Sixer fans up in arms saying that VJ should be higher than Ace Bailey. VJ's better defender. VJ has more ability and upside than Ace Bailey. Guys, we need to get realistic. We need to be honest with ourselves. VJ Edgecombe was not the better player than Ace Bailey. VJ Edgecombe was the better fit than Ace Bailey. For the 76ers, you need a guy who's ready and willing to play all and any role possible. For the 76ers, you need a guy who's going to be a willing teammate, an unselfish player, and most importantly, an energetic defender. This team is lacking defensive energy, defensive ability. And in the upper end of the draft, the only real defensive stoppers you had on that squad were 2 big guys, and Kaman Malawach and Colin Murray-Boyles, and VJ Edgecombe. VJ Edgecombe was the only early draftable prospect who relied and made his bread and butter the defensive end. So if you look at these 2K ratings, I think they're perfect. I think Ace Bailey has more scoring upside. I think Ace Bailey has more ceiling. With Ace Bailey being taller, longer, and a ready scorer right now, these 2K ratings make sense. Maybe Ace Bailey is actually rated a little lower than he's supposed to be. I can see Ace Bailey rated higher than Dylan Harper in terms of on-court ability and on-court skill. Dylan Harper's IQ, though, is out of this world. Being the athlete of a professional, he has professional IQ already coming into the rookie season. But if you're saying VJ or Ace Bailey, guys, you got to take Ace Bailey if you're being realistic about their on-court ability, if you're being realistic about their on-court play, and if you're making their 2K ratings, Ace Bailey should be higher. But VJ Edgecombe could be the better pick for this Philadelphia 76ers team, so don't lose sleep over it, guys. It's just 2K. It's just ratings. But it is very accurate. Ace Bailey over VJ Edgecombe for right now. The fit, though, is perfect for the 76ers. And speaking of a perfect fit, where will Andre Drummond be traded to? Reports and rumors are that Andre Drummond would have been traded if the Philadelphia 76ers found a home for him. Andre Drummond would have been off of this roster if the Philadelphia 76ers had a place to send him, which also means the Philadelphia 76ers believe in Adem Bona. The Philadelphia 76ers believe in Johnny Brome, and the Sixers don't believe that Andre Drummond has any sustainable, useful skills on this squad anymore. Guys, this team wants to play faster. This team wants to play with more energy, more effort, and Andre Drummond's getting older, getting slower, and has a worse bill of health than he did his first time with Philadelphia. He's still a great rebounder. He's still a decent rim protector, but that pick and roll defense leaves Andre Drummond as a liability. That offensive ability leaves Andre Drummond as another liability. Will Andre Drummond be traded? Absolutely, in the middle of the season. When teams start stinking, when teams start tanking, and you need to offload a contract to maybe get a second round, a first round. If the Sixers are right there between contending and pretending, if you have one more year, Joel, you got to max out this team's future, and you need to be a contender by any means necessary. Trading Andre Drummond with a first round, second round, or maybe another young, hopeful star would definitely bring back a future star guard, a great powerful wing, or maybe the big that this team needs to play behind Joel. Plus, if the reports are that they're willing, able, and ready to trade Andre Drummond, then guys, Adem Bona is the backup of the future. Adem Bona could be the center of the franchise for the future, and Adem Bona could be the exact Joel Embiid replica this team has been trying to get. A guy who just started picking up basketball later in his life, plays with tons of energy, tons of effort, is extremely competitive, extremely fiery, and is only getting better. If Adem Bona can progress and process basketball the way a young Joel Embiid did, you're not sure if you're seeing the next up-and-coming face of the franchise for the center position with Adem. But I love the fact the Sixers are ready to move on from an older, a slower Andre Drummond, which basically means this team has a lot of belief in their young guys. And Daryl Morey has a lot of belief in relying on these young guys, which is something that he's never done before in his professional GM career. Can't wait to see it, guys. Can't wait to see the season kick off. But make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, guys, because we read all of your comments. So like, subscribe, and comment down below because we got another video for you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for stopping back in.